On Osrc News at 7. Ahead 2023 general elections, Governor Akredolu urges APC members to forge ahead with winning mentality. Ondo State Education Ministry released timetable for 2022 entrance examination. Lagos crushes impounded motorcycles, insist ban on operations. And from the foreign scene, Central African Republic refugees return from Cameroon.
Thank you for joining us on the news tonight. Oluwatoyin Omodara is my name. Preparatory to 2023 general elections, Ondo State Governor Oluwatimi Akredolu has appealed to members of the All Progressives Congress (APC) to close ranks and forge ahead with a winning mentality. Akredolu, who called party faithful to a meeting at Cocoa Conference Hall, Governor's office in Akure, said they could not go to crucial election with divided house. The governor also asked members to avoid anti-party romance and assured them that loyalty would be adequately rewarded to spur commitment. Government House correspondent Wahab Bankole has details of the story.
The relatively peaceful conclusion of House of Assembly and National Assembly primaries by the All Progressives Congress (APC) does not indicate that all is well, especially with some who still nurse grudges. Governor Oluwatimi Akredolu, who aside his legal proficiency as a well-rounded politician, knows that one cannot win a war with a divided house. Hence, they need to require aggrieved party members before the 2023 general elections. And here at the Cocoa Conference Hall of the Governor's office in Akure, Governor Akredolu presided over a sort of family meeting attended by top government functionaries, political associates, and party faithful. The party chairman in the state, Ade Adetimehin, congratulated members on the successful conduct of the primary election.
Don't say because your party tickets just disappeared in the area. Visit the secretariat of the party regularly because this party is a visible party. This is our party. We want to do everything to promote the progress and unity of the party.
Governor Akredolu urged party's candidates to close ranks with co-contestants in the overall interest of the party. He commended aspirants for conducting themselves well and promised that the party will not disappoint them. The governor also used the occasion to dispel the rumored imposition of candidates during the primary election.
I believe that what we did here in Ondo State can give us an A as well. At least. I believe that like somebody said to me and said, I know election is perfect. I agree. We can't do that. We are not going to score 100%. Only need to score any kind of 70. I believe that what we have done, we are over 70%. So it's A. I want to congratulate all of you. For your cooperation.
Some of the candidates appreciated the party leadership and called for support to sustain the relevance of the ruling party.
It gladdens my heart that not only has this process brought about credible candidates, but has brought about people that I believe that come February 2023, victory surely shall be that of my party.
This is Governor Akredolu, and he had a very fantastic meeting with us. He distilled some of the strategy he used in the party. You know, he won the election twice. So obviously you don't play with that. That's a big experience that you need to drive with. Most of his activities this afternoon, meeting with us, has triggered peaceful coexistence of the contestants with the winners. So obviously there is alignment. This meeting was to align people together. You know, that alignment has been created.
The APC candidates will contest only the state and national assembly elections in the state. Wahab Bankole, Osrc News.
Meanwhile, the Ondo State government has described report credited to Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu on the endorsement of an aspirant under the platform of the All Progressives Congress (APC) as untrue. A statement by the governor's chief press secretary, Richard Olatunde, said the alleged report is largely laced with partisan interest and not authored by the governor. According to the statement, the intention was to drag the governor into unnecessary declarations despite public knowledge of his position as the chairman of the Southern Governors Forum. The statement restated Governor Akeredelu's position on the need for the South to produce the next president of the country in the spirit of equity and fairness. It urged members of the APC and supporters to disregard the statement as it does not represent the collective decision of the Southern Governors Forum, which Governor Akeredolu leads. Meanwhile, the Ondo State chapter of All Progressives Congress (APC) has refuted claims that there are political appointees on the state list sent to the national headquarters in Abuja. Chairman of the chapter, Mr. Ade Adetime, dismissed the list as fake and misleading. Adetime, in a statement by the party's publicity secretary, said political appointees earlier included in the delegate list had been replaced in full compliance with the Electoral Act. He called on party stakeholders to disregard the reports and focus on a forthcoming presidential primary. The All Progressives Congress Presidential Committee has disqualified 10 aspirants from its primaries scheduled for next week. Chairman of the committee, John Oyegun, said only 13 out of the 23 aspirants screened were cleared by the committee. He added that only youthful aspirants made the list of cleared aspirants. However, when asked about the identity of the disqualified aspirant, Mr. Oyegun declined to disclose their names. The committee held a screening exercise between Monday and Tuesday this week, and cleared aspirants are expected to contest the presidential primary at a scheduled special convention in Abuja between June 6 and 8. The presidential spokesperson, Femi Adesina, has faulted claims that President Muhammadu Buhari asked members of the Progressives Governors Forum to pick a consensus presidential candidate for the ruling All Progressives Congress. He said that contrary to reports, the president only met with the governors and gave them his expectation for the forthcoming presidential primary of the party. Additional, who is the special advisor to the president on media and publicity, explained that Buhari never discussed issues bordering on zoning, consensus, or imposition of candidates during his conversation with the governors. According to him, President Buhari told them of what he would like to see at the APC presidential primary to elect a presidential candidate early next week. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has launched the regulations and guidelines for the conduct of the general elections in the country. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu, during a meeting of the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security (ICES) at the Commission's headquarters in Abuja, assured Nigerians that the Commission is finalizing the regulations and guidelines for the elections. According to the INEC chief, the electoral umpire has virtually concluded the planning processes for the 2023 polls 9 months ahead of the elections, with the release of the regulations and guidelines and earlier publication of the Strategic Plan SP 2022 to 2026 and Election Projects Plan 2023. Revealed that the training manual would also be presented to Nigerians in the next couple of weeks, while INEC would focus on election administration going forward. Yakubu listed such areas to include logistics, training, voter education, technology sensitization against vote buying, inclusivity measures, and security, among others. Let's go for a break now. When we come back, we'll serve you more stories on the news tonight. Please stay with us. You're welcome back. You can watch us live on our website www.osrc.ng or follow us on Facebook, Osrc TV Ondo, and on YouTube you can subscribe to our channel, Osrc TV Ondo. Now to the rest of the bulletin. The Ondo State Ministry of Education, Science and Technology has released the timetable for the 2022 state examinations. Entrance examination into the state unity secondary schools will hold on Saturday, 11th June 2022, while the common entrance examination into the state public secondary schools will hold on Saturday, 2nd July 2022. A statement by head of the Information and Media Unit of the Ministry, Meshak Olalua, says accreditation of candidates for both examinations at designated centers begins by 8 a.m., while examinations will commence by 9 a.m. The statement also adds that the Basic Education Certificate Examination BECE for JSS 3 students will hold from Tuesday 12th of July to Tuesday 19th of July 2022, while the Joint SS2 Promotion Examination will take place between Wednesday 20th of July and Tuesday 2nd of August 2022. All candidates are to come to the examination centers with their registration slips and writing materials. No fewer than 1 million residents of Ondo State will benefit from the Millennium Eye Care Service of the Lions Clubs International Foundation from 2022 to 2025. The four-phase intervention of the foundation in Ondo State includes the structural upgrade of the Millennium Eye Center in Akure, procurement of state-of-the-art equipment, training of optometrists, and outreach programs across the 18 local government areas of Ondo State. Osrc's Zaid Aribisala reports that facilitator of the intervention and immediate past council chairperson of Lions Clubs International Nigeria, Tokunbo Jegede, said the move became imperative to forestall avoidable blindness among people.
According to a World Health Organization (WHO) report, about 2.2 billion people globally have visual impairment, while at least 1 billion of the cases could have been prevented or is yet to be addressed. In Nigeria, an estimated 1.13 million individuals aged 40 are reported to be currently blind, while 4.25 million adults are virtually impaired or blind. Recognizing the increasing spate of visual impairment, particularly in rural communities, spurred the immediate past president of Lions Club International, Multiple District 404, Nigeria, Mr. Tokunbo Jegede, to facilitate a free medical outreach tagged the Millennium Eye Care Service for Ondo State in January 2022. Mr. Jegede noted that the Foundation's intervention covers the upgrading of Millennium Eye Center facility structure, procurement of equipment, and training of optometrists, among others.
So for the first time, Ondo State will have a strong database for sight services, for eye care services. It's a complete turnaround for the eye care services of Ondo State. That, at the end of the day, is what we seek to. And equally to all those downtrodden people in the rural areas who cannot afford to go to hospitals on their own, who cannot afford medical care, who cannot afford to go to eye clinics for checkups and the like, are now opportuned to come free of charge for 4 years, quarterly, to have free services.
Designed to take place quarterly for the next 4 years, the outreach coordinator, Dr. Kofurola Jegede, said the exercise is built for designated basic health care centers across the 18 local government areas of the state.
The minimum we see for 1 or 2 local governments that were not adequately prepared, we have people about 150 at minimum, and we have the maximum at about 450. So average of 250, 300 across the entire local government, and with that education, and I think that the services has been very beneficial to the entire people of Ondo State.
Residents of Ondo State who visited the Okejebu Basic Health Center for the second quarter outreach in Akure South local government were subjected to visual acuity test and medical consultation.
Some people, they believe when something happened to them concerning their eye, their belief is that maybe it is not curable, or maybe there is no way out. Then we screen them. We know those who will need referral to higher center, and those who we just give advice and those people who we just treat at this point.
The beneficiaries appreciated the intervention of Lions Club International Foundation, describing it as important to their well-being.
I find it difficult to read the small alphabets, but when it is, if it is so far away, I will not be able to read. But now that just to check, I've checked it, and then they are giving me and refer me.
Very fast. Didn't even waste my time. I did some tests outside before I came in, and immediately I got to him. He has done his test, and they asked me to go further to the state hospital to go for the next step.
They asked me to go and buy the drug that they gave to me in this list. That if I use it, that it will be, my house will be okay.
As the upgrade of Millennium Eye Center at the University of Medical Sciences Teaching Hospital Akure Complex is set for commissioning in the next few weeks, the message of no more avoidable blindness continue to top priority of the outreach. Sahida Ribisala, Osrc News.
Suspected robbers today robbed an Akure-based businessman of 3 million naira around St. Luke's Anglican Church, Idiagba Tutu, in the state capital. The man, Omolayo Lushola, who was on his way to Shijuade area after collecting the sum from the bank, was trailed by the robbers who eventually attacked him and made away with the money. Let's join Richard Ilesomi for details.
This was the scene of the robbery incident where the businessman, Mr. Omolayo Lushola, was attacked by the masked armed robbers who made away with his 3 million naira. Mr. Olushola, a cocoa merchant, after collecting the money from the bank, was on his way to the Shijuade area of the state capital when he noticed a vehicle on his trail around Alagbaka area of the state capital.
Where is Kaki?
In a chat with Osrc, Mr. Olushola said after noticing the suspicious driving of the tinted Camry increased his speed to get away. Said when he was to slow down on approaching a speed breaker around St. Luke's on his way to Shijuade access, the armed robbers overtook his vehicle, collected the money at gunpoint.
If traffic in my way, I mean the last person to traffic in that duro. Arawa for me pé àwọn tó dá mi dúró yìí ó ṣe ṣe kí àwọn tí mo rí tí èrè wọn pọ̀ lẹ́yìn kí wọ́n bá mi nípa bẹ́ẹ̀ wọ́n ní àmì bí wọ́n ṣe wá release tí mo wá ń lọ mo ṣe gbéra mo wá rí pé èrè tí wọ́n sátẹ̀lé mi ó pọ̀ èmi náà wá sáré wọ́n fẹ́ overtake mi jẹ́ kó overtake títí dé iwájú St. Luke church níbi tí bob sí wà yẹn ìgbà tí màá fi débẹ̀ ó dọ̀pù bá mú mi nípa bẹ́ẹ̀ wọ́n gba owó ọ̀tún mi wọ́n bá park.
During his transaction in the bank, Mr. Olushola said he suspected a woman who sat beside him to be an informant to the robbers, adding that the matter has been reported to the police and the bank where he made the transaction.
Where's Kaki? Mo ṣe kúkú ṣílẹ̀kùn ọwọ́ ẹ̀yìn mọ́tò tí mo gbé lọ náà lélẹ̀ Tacoma yìí mo ṣe ṣílẹ̀kùn yẹn tí mo gbowó fún wọn. Still yet Kaki wọ́n ṣe drag kí mọ́ mi lọ́wọ́ nìyẹn wọ́n drag ẹ̀ mọ́ mi lọ́wọ́ wọ́n dẹ̀ kọ́ kí ìbọn pé wọ́n á yìnbọn sí mi in case pé mi fẹ́ release Kaki yẹn kí ni remote ẹ̀ ó já mọ́ wọn lọ́wọ́ à ń drag ẹ̀.
When contacted on phone, the public relations officer on Ondo State Police Command, Fumilayo Odunlami, said she was yet to be briefed at the time of filing this report. Richard Lesomi, Osrc News.
The Lagos state government says there is no going back on its decision to raid 6 local government areas. It stated that the enforcement will
want to try their best not to be. That pronouncement of 1st June does not invalidate that of February 2020 is still very much in force. The one that was pronounced on the 1st of February 2020 is still very much in force. And that particular pronouncement banned Okada in all these 6 local governments and all the LCDAs in the 6 local governments. This local government and the LCDAs, local council development.
For trial on alleged internet fraud. Justice Eyang Eko fixed the date after taking arguments for and against the suit by the parties involved. Kyari, whose arguments were presented by a senior advocate of Nigeria, Nureni Jimo, asked the court to refuse the extradition request on the grounds that he committed no offense to warrant the federal government taking him to the United States of America. Meanwhile, a court of the Federal Capital Territory in Wose has remanded Peter Nwachukwu, husband of the late gospel singer Osrc, at the Kuje Correctional Facility. The judgment is pending the hearing and determination of the homicide-related suit instituted against him by the Attorney General of the Federation. Justice N.K. Nwosu Iheme gave the order after he pleaded not guilty to 23 counts bordering on domestic violence and homicide, among others. The judge ordered that the suspect be remanded at the correctional facility while trial was adjourned to June 16 from 12 p.m. and June 17 by 9 a.m. Nwachukwu's wife died on April 8, and many of her colleagues had accused her husband of subjecting the deceased to domestic violence, leading to her death. And from the foreign scene, refugees from the Central African Republic who have been living in Cameroon are returning home. It is a journey that has resumed after a 2-year pause due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Some of the refugees have been living in tents for nearly a decade. Richard Ilesomi reports.
This camp for displaced people in northern Cameroon houses tens of thousands of refugees. Many of them come from the Central African Republic. Now 300 people are repatriated, hoping to pick up where they left off or hoping to start over.
It's been 8 years since I fled the conflict to Cameroon. I came with my husband and grandmother. I'm not afraid to go back because my neighbour, who was here with me, has already left. She helps me a lot. I just want to go back.
Gaudio Camp was set up in 2014 to accommodate 10,000 Central Africans fleeing fighting between the government and the Seleka rebels. As the conflict intensified, it's grown and now hosts more than 10 times that number. Funding shortfalls as well as limited humanitarian assistance and access to basic services has led to deteriorating conditions in the camp.
When we first arrived, I was happy in Cameroon, but things got bad because of the hospital and lack of food. To eat, you're jostled by other people from left to right, and that's what's pushing me to go home.
Hundreds of people have been repatriated since the UN-backed process began in 2019. However, the organization says the decision is ultimately up to the refugees themselves.
Repatriation is done on a voluntary basis. It is the first of all elements that must be taken into consideration, and we, UNHCR, give refugees the mapping of safe areas in CAR, and it is the refugees who opt for return. We do not promote repatriation, we facilitate. That is to say, the refugee is aware of the decision and we help him to return to his country.
The conflict in the Central African Republic is not over and the humanitarian situation is dire. The World Food Programme estimates that more than half of the population of 5 million people don't know where their next meal will come from. And while many of these refugees say all they remember of the villages they left behind is death and devastation, they would rather rebuild what has been destroyed in their home country rather than live in limbo elsewhere. Richard Ilesomi, West House News.
And to sport, Rafael Nadal has qualified for his 14th Roland Garros final as a result of his semi-final opponent Alexander Zverev having to withdraw because of injury. The score was 7-6, 6-6 to Nadal at the time, with the German suffering his injury on the first point of the second set tiebreak. The whole game lasted over 3 hours, even though Zverev sprained his ankle when sliding on the clay. Nadal will face the winner of Casper Ruud versus Marin Cilic in tennis French Open on Sunday. Before we go, a quick look at some of the highlights of the bulletin. Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu has encouraged members of the All Progressives Congress to imbibe unity of purpose ahead 2023 general elections. Ondo State Government has released timetable for the 2022 entrance examination. Following the ban on motorcyclist operations in Lagos State, the government has crushed impounded motorbikes. And from the foreign scene, the Central African Republic refugees have returned from Cameroon after 7 years from home. And that's it on the news tonight. Thanks for watching. Good evening.